there, Coach?
Well, you know, obviously it was a tough game. I thought through 4 innings, we were playing pretty good baseball outside of we left too many guys on base. We had the leadoff guy on base in the first 3 innings and just couldn't come up with that big hit. And you got to give South Carolina a lot of credit. Clark Schmidt was excellent. The balance in their lineup is really, really good. And in that 5th inning, we made a couple mistakes, and they made us pay, which really good teams do. And you got to give them a lot of credit. I don't know what we're going to do with Alex Destino, but we got to find a way to not put the ball anywhere near his bat because the guy can really, really hit. But they've got a really good lineup. They played good defensively, and Clark Schmidt was excellent. You know, he competed really well on the mound for them and gave them a chance, and thought he was really, really good. So you got to give South Carolina a lot of credit. They outplayed us in all facets of the game, and they definitely deserve to win this game.
Coach, what positives can you take from the game tonight?
You know, the positives were, you know, early in the ball game, I thought we took some good swings. You know, again, we hit into a double play. We had some tough luck offensively, just couldn't come up with the big hit. You know, and after that, you know, like I said, in the big inning, it just snowballed on us. We made a couple errors. We couldn't execute pitches. We did not execute pitches well the second half of the game. We got to do a better job of that. But, you know, the biggest thing is you know, we've got to find a way to minimize damage, and big inning baseball will get you beat. We got to minimize our damage when we make an error, we walk a guy, we give up a run. We got to stay relaxed, and we just got to keep competing. We can't let the frustration of being down by a couple runs affect us. And that's one thing that, you know, we told the ball club, hey, just stay positive, stay confident, and keep competing, even when you're down by a couple runs, because you never know in the game of baseball. But, you know, they made it tough on us tonight. You know, Clark Schmidt was excellent. You know, he pitched like a #1. The middle of their order is really, really good. They've got balance in the lineup, and they played really, really well.
How important was that catcher's interference in that inning to sort of start unraveling
Well,
things?
you know, it snowballed on us for sure, and that was a big message, you know, right there at the end when I talked to the team, is we can't let something like that affect us negatively. And, you know, we had the catcher's interference, just tough luck, really. And, you know, and then after that, we made a couple errors. You know, we lost sight of the baseball on a double play ball. That was actually, I think, a pretty good throw from what I could tell. And, you know, it just happened. And they did what good teams do. They took advantage of our mistakes. And you could see, you know, their confidence over there. They became more aggressive at the plate once they got multiple guys on base, and they stepped up. And you know, some of their guys swung the bats well with runners in scoring position, and you got to give them a lot of credit. They definitely deserve it.
Was that the disappointing thing? Was that you had those early opportunities, didn't take advantage of it, and they did theirs?
That was the biggest thing I was disappointed about. You know, the 2 things that disappointed me the most was just we had those opportunities early and we didn't capitalize. You look at their first inning. You know, their first inning we get 2 outs, and then it's base hit, single, you know, double, single, and they score a run with 2 outs, and that's big. You know, we had 2 guys on base and couldn't come up with anything, and you know, that was the difference there early in the ball game. And then, you know, they blew it open in the middle there with a big inning just on a couple mistakes, but they capitalized. That was the difference between the 2 teams today, was they capitalized and with runners on base, and we didn't. And we got to find a way to play better tomorrow. You know, hopefully Clay will give us a great start. We've got plenty of options out of the bullpen, and we got to do everything we can to win the game tomorrow and take it back to Clemson on Game 3.
Do you feel like it was good to leave Charlie in there and kind of let him work out of the jam on his own?
Well, you know, we wanted to leave Charlie in there just matchup-wise. You know, they were going righty-lefty, 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 and really Charlie, you know, I thought Charlie threw the ball well. Again, if we make a couple plays, you know, behind him, and minimize the damage for him, you know, the game probably doesn't get out of hand. But again, you know, we didn't play very well. I thought they played really, really well, and they played better than we did. They deserve, you know, to win the game based on how they played. We've got to do a better job of executing in all facets of the game tomorrow, but South Carolina was really good tonight.
Monty, what was it like coming back here on this side of the line?
Well, you know, it's an intense environment. You know, this is one of the toughest places in all of college baseball to play. You know, I've been here a number of times as a head coach, and you know, I've lost some games here, so I know what this, you know, what kind of program they have, what kind of crowd they have. They had a great crowd here tonight. It was an electric atmosphere, and you know, they played really, really well in a big game, and you know, they deserve it.
Monte, I guess from the stuff standpoint, looking at Charlie, it seemed like his fastball had a little more velo than expected tonight, and also he had pretty good feel for his curveball. What did you kind of see from him stuff-wise tonight?
I thought his stuff looked pretty good. You know, Charlie's not a guy that's got a blazing fastball, but he can pitch in the mid to upper 80s. He's got 3 pitches. I thought he competed fine. I thought he pitched well. Again, you know, the 5th inning, you know, we had a couple errors and a couple things happened, and they capitalized on it. And, you know, his line doesn't look, you know, probably, you know, it looks worse than it really is. I thought he threw fine. But again, when they had opportunities to score with runners on base, they did, and we didn't. And you got to give them credit for that.
You talked about Clark Schmidt, his ability to kind of get out of some of those jams.
Charlie Barnes.
What did you kind of see from him in the same breath stuff-wise that was able to, you know, kind of allow him to get out of those things?
Well, I think the one thing that Clark did was Clark was able to keep his fastball down and get some ground balls. You know, Clark really did a good job with runners on base of getting a big double play ball there and getting some ground balls and some weak contact to get himself out of some jams, and that's what really good pitchers do. He's just got a heavy sinking fastball. He was very, very aggressive. He attacked our hitters, which we knew he would do, and you got to give him credit. You know, he pitched like a Friday night guy.
Quick turnaround for tomorrow's game. What's your message to the team?
You know, we just got to learn from our mistakes and move on. You know, tomorrow's a new day, and we got to find a way to win the game tomorrow. I mean, it's really simple. We can't feel sorry for ourselves. You know, we can't be, you know, frustrated and disappointed, you know, once we leave the dugout tonight. Everybody's down in the dumps a little bit right now. You know, we had a tough loss, but, you know, the biggest thing we got to do is have a short memory and got to get ready to play tomorrow. There's still 2 games left in this series, and we got to find a way to play better tomorrow and find a way to win.